The story begins with Chang, a below-average 20-year-old student majoring in anime studies at university. The pardon still lives with his parents, and his hobby and sinology, aka Chinese study, is the academic examination of China through literature and history, which means that he is a shut-in without a laugh. His headphones prevent him from hearing his mother's calls for dinner, which forces his father to come pick him up. The head of the family is a well-known Chinese scholar, and his influence on Chang is what grew the boy's love for the subject. However, the way they express their love for the subject is very different. The family gathers for dinner when his father asks him where he was. Yesterday afternoon, he looks away, stating that he hasn't gone anywhere. A body language expert like me can smell the cap. The father helps me maintain my success rate 100% while taking out the receipts. He reveals that their neighbor told him that the boy had taken a stand by pretending to read people's fortunes through their palms. His father tells him to stop following the crooked path and learn something seriously. Chang is not interested in studying more conventional voices. A phone call interrupts their family discussion, and Chang takes the opportunity to apologize. The dad is informed that he has a signing in the city of X for his new publication. He announces to his wife that he will be away for weeks. He reminds her to pass on his orders that Chang must stay home to hold down the fort. The frustrated boy sits in his room, convinced that he really has a talent for reading palms. He checks online to find the closest sinology bookstores in his area. Chang finds one, and that night he goes in and finds no one around. He looks around when a book on an ancient Chinese character catches his eye. He is frightened when he hears a voice whispering to him and the lights flash. He leaves money for the book and runs away. He stops to admire his latest pickup when he gets far enough away, but his happiness is ruined when a panicked lady hits him. She doesn't even wait to respond to her welfare check while his gang chase her. He starts to annoy her for her escape attempt. The leader takes her purse, recovers the money she owes him. Chang reveals that the thug is at his university. He doesn't want any trouble, so he looks to grab his book and dive in. Chang is mortified to see that his new purchase is right under his feet. Of milk, attention is drawn to it. When he steps on the book, he sees that it belongs to Chang, and begins to interact with him by treating the boy from 10 o'clock as a fortune teller. After looking at it more closely, they are interested in the book and tries to grab it. Chang demands that the thug give it back. This proves that he is more willing to fight for a book than for a damsel in distress. Only a fool with nothing would choose. This, some will say, and say that he's not an idiot. Let this figure out. A woman just got jumped by 3 guys, and he looked like it was one of my recaps. Chang holds on to as he refuses to back down, but the gang leader slaps him with literature while he criticizes sinology. The boy defends his hobby by kicking him in the shin as if they were in kindergarten before running away. The gang chases him, but he gives them the runaround in an alley as he blocks the path. He breathes a sigh of relief and looks at his book, thinking he has run away. But he puts the manuscript down when he hears Milk's voice. The thug punches, but Chang dodges, causing him to hit the window of the electronics store. The boy also pulls down the pants of the by accident. Passers-by start taking pictures, which is some sort of crime. I'm sure this allows Chun to escape. A second time, he arrives in a park and feels safe. But he hears a harsh noise, followed by a barrier being erected around him. A livid bed falls and reveals himself to be the one who erected the barrier. The level of humiliation that he has just suffered is unforgivable, orders him to overthrow the boy. The gang leader kicks Chang while revealing the power he possesses, which is beyond human understanding. He claims to be different from normal trash and commands his weapon to break Chang's arms and legs, continuing his attack as the boy cries in pain. He stops and gives the final order to finish him off. Chang is determined to live. While the blade descends towards him, he is transported to a realm where he is greeted by a door. He wonders if these are the gates of hell. When he opens it, a veil informs him that his wish not to die is easy to be granted, while an explosion pushes back the 2 attackers. A new weapon is summoned, making the annular sword laugh. He can say that this newcomer is powerful, and declares that it is a weapon of Levelstein. The sword wishes to know the level of his opponent, but the white-haired guy doesn't think. The ring sword is worth knowing because he's just an ant. The attack weapon puts the newcomer dodge while holding Chang. The boy is healed in the process. The bladed weapon then blocks an attack with his finger, while Chung regains consciousness, surprised to see himself healed. The ring sword prepares its special attack. But the newcomer wishes to show his power to his summoner and counterattacks with a bomb, spiritual, that even Goku would be proud of. She incinerates the gang leader's weapon. Chang is impressed and is sure that his father will approve of him from now on. Dried them, but full of pain in his chest. He collapses to the ground and disintegrates while his subordinate calls him worriedly. Meanwhile, Cho observes everything and smiles because she found what she was looking for. The next morning, Chang wakes up and he is surprised to find the weapon he summoned sleeping next to him. He pushes a cry. After taking a moment to analyze the situation, the Nair offers the newcomer a modern outfit to better integrate. He walks to get to know himself better. Chang wants to know the name of the weapon he summoned, but he can't remember his name. But one thing he noticed is that Chang is the very definition of trash, because this guy has very little spiritual power. Weapon is sure his memory loss is the result of being summoned by a talentless idiot like him. Chang doesn't even know what he is referring to, and decides to call him White. For now, he returns to his room to discuss further. But this is interrupted when his mother informs him that a pretty girl came to see him. He quickly hides White in his closet. The boy introduces himself to Chachu's greetings, and he is already in love like a simple professional. She reminds him that they are classmates, and their teacher asked him to bring a file. His mother is delighted to meet one of her son's colleagues and asks him to come in. The lady politely refuses, but she wants to speak alone to Changdor. The mother gets the wrong idea and chases them away. The two take a walk, and the boy wants to know where they met, before Chu stops and snaps her fingers, prompting Zhang and Moye to go out. She gets straight to the point, declaring that she came to make a deal with him. She knows the strange man who summoned the night before. Chu assumes that he doesn't like the White, and lets him know that the gun doesn't like him either. She offers to compensate Chang so that he gets rid of the newcomer. But the boy is more concerned about how she learned this information. Zhou tries to gloss over it by stating that her answer is the only one that matters. White on wondering why she didn't ask him directly. It shows that he is a cold-blooded Rizzler by first calling Chu a goddess. He then kisses her hand and asks her to go out with him. This, associated with her dashing beauty, almost makes her melt. Zhang intervenes and warns White to reduce her techniques, where he will teach her a lesson. The newcomer finds this amusing threat. Chang tries to defuse the tension before it reaches the boiling point. He makes her understand that he is not selling. He is aware that she considers him poor, but he has principles on which he doesn't want to compromise. White saved her life, so she should forget to buy it. He leaves, but the lady hasn't abandoned the duo. Returns to the room. White explains that the door he saw when he was thinking that his life was over was the Shangyuan arsenal, which predates humanity. It stocks weapons from all times and places in the world. Some of these weapons were made by famous people, and others were used by great people. The rarest are ancient sacred weapons. The Changyuan arsenal classifies weapons into 4 levels. Wang Shuangdi and chosen people can summon weapons at random, and Tian is theoretically the highest level. However, legend says that there is a level above, and it is called the holy level. White says it is too beautiful not to be a holy weapon, and it is a shame that someone of his caliber was summoned by thugs like Chang. Not only has part of his memories been blocked, but he can only function as a weapon. At level D, the people who control the weapons summoned from the arsenal are known as the spiritual warrior. Chu is sitting in his house, chic, and continues the exposition. She informs that these are people born with spiritual power, and that in her family there is one in each generation. She is a little confused because spiritual warriors are normally born in notable families. Like hers, the fact that the boy, Foshe Chang'an, is surprising. These spiritual battles are dangerous and can lead to death. That is why she has been training since her awakening as a warrior. She is also motivated to win the Tiangong trial. Things are coming back to White, who reveal that it is a battle royale between all the spirit warriors and their weapons. The winner
gains glory from the so-called gods and gets infinite wishes. Chang is shocked to hear this, and White doesn't know why the supposed god would grant such a wish. Chang wants to participate and win because he is sure that his father would finally give him some recognition. CHU is also determined to win. But the rewards are insignificant compared to his family's wish. She looks at his family tree, and she looks like the only heiress. The lady decides to torment Chang with public humiliation in order to make him give in. She throws debt collectors against him, drops posters that attack his character, and does much more. He finally finds Chu, but he gives him the same answer. After learning more about this new world, he informs him that he is participating in the Tiangong trial, the Safusk lady that a layman wants to fight. She gives him one last chance to sell his weapon and live a life peaceful. He remembers all the insults of mediocrity that his father says to him and tells him to think about the words that come out of his mouth. He points out how desperate she is to buy a gun from a layman, which doesn't make her special. Chu gets angry and orders his weapons to teach them a lesson. He takes advantage of White, but they fail to get the best out of him. This confuses Cho, because the performance of Chang's weapon shows that he is at the level of the two. Also notice him, but note how fast his movement is for a weapon of this rank. White reveals that Zhang and Moer are Tian-level weapons. As the battle rages, Ao Tian and Nalan from the Tianzin Hall head towards Cho to impress their president. Nalan is a little worried because their boss warned them to be careful of Odian. Is sure they will be forgiven if they succeed. He runs ahead, interrupts the fight, and expresses his wish to join in. Nalan soon catches up and notices how quickly Atian Cho notices the way he continues to constantly harass her. She wonders if he wants to be beaten. Ocean finds his rejection of their kindness to be disrespectful, even though the president tolerates it. But he has had enough. Ocean C turns to Chang and ignores him because he doesn't have Tian-level weapons. Nalan begs his colleague not to provoke people. Unnecessarily, Chang finds the name of the Switch organization cool, and he's sure he has weapons power. Aoshin takes this opportunity to reveal his famous sword named Long Yan. He promises to spare Chang's life if he sticks around and plays with the sand. The below-average loser is convinced that his weapon can deal with this situation, since White's true level is unknown. He becomes complacent and informs Owen that he has made 3 critical mistakes. The first is to underestimate Chu's beauty. And since Chang sees himself as the hero, he is tradition that he sides with her. The next thing was that he excluded her as a potential ally by declaring that he spares his life. Aoshin points out that when the trial begins, someone with a weapon of Rand, and since his won't go far, Chang asks him to reconsider his assumption that he's weak because Cho resents his gun, like people in supermarkets on Black Friday. Aoshin isn't bothered and wonders if the guy thinks he's strong. This causes Chang to point out his last and worst mistake, but White doesn't let him finish and attacks the rude warrior. Nalan summons her weapon, to which she rushes in and blocks all the explosions. White doesn't care about his speech summoner and just wants to eliminate them all. Cho is aware that Nalan's weapon works well in the dark, but it shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. The rich lady leaves the assassin in Chang while she takes care of the Oryuan his weapons attack. But they are a little saddened since they all come from the same family as Onyuan. Meanwhile, White dodges Wise blows, and Chang is sure that dragging out this fight will be to their disadvantage, because they have already used significant energy during their first battle. Chao is also aware of this, and orders his weapons to use their skills to finish this fight. Long Yuan's power suddenly runs out. Moyer reveals that Zhang's draining ability deprives his opponent's oxen and adds them to himself. His skill allows him to move his debuffs to any other person. It moves. White's fatigue to the Yuan Chu's weapons do not have the best attack power among the Tian-level weapons, but their skills are among the best in the class. When they come together, their combination is even more invincible. Nalan advises them to withdraw and report to their president, because his comps are too dangerous. Change the taken in revealing that he would rather spare their lives that day. Owen vows to remember it, because Ward Tian'an will never give up on his goals. White comments on how lucky they are, because he was about to use up everything her power. Chu is ready to form a temporary alliance with Chang. After this demonstration, she extends her hand to him. The boy blushes with excitement at the idea of touching her hand. The reaction of these weapons pushes her to withdraw them, which devastates Chun, because he almost touched a girl's hand for the first time during this time at Tian'an Aoshin Hall, and Nalan report their failure to the president, who scolds them for causing trouble, as it only delays their plan. They are all willing to accept any punishment, is embarrassed that he can't defeat White, even though he is at level 10. The president can see that White must be something special, and that is why Otian's actions do not make the situation worse. Not only did he provoke Chu, he created a new enemy to face, but the boss is also sure that the summoner of this new weapon and Cho will form an alliance. A member thinks he should make Chu suffer for rejecting President Aotian's offer, is ordered to give details about Chang. He describes him as an eccentric and unpredictable character. According to sources, he summoned his weapon when he was on the verge of death. This deadly summon arouses their interest. Things change for Chang and CHU, who meet in a cafe. She explains that a death invocation is one of the two ways in which spiritual warriors summon weapons. It is at this moment that the life of the person is in danger, and therefore has the option to summon a weapon from the arsenal. Most people obtain their weapons through the second method, which involves summoning them in a formal ceremony. It is revealed that Zhang and Moyer are husband and wife, so Cho got lucky and summoned two weapons in one roll. But because of that, she can't get another Tiant-level weapon. This is one of the restrictions put in place by Arsenal. The other limit is that it costs $100,000 from the second summons. Without the restriction of the level of weapons, CHU is sure that she would have won the game with her money. The subject changes when Chang asks about the Salte Chincho, reveals that they have existed for hundreds of years and that they are an organization created by arms. The two formalize their alliance so that they can defeat Sao Tianzin. She is sure that they will send powerful enemies. Now that Chang is on their radar, she reveals how people lost their lives in past battles. If they fight together, they have a better chance of survival. Chang is shocked to learn that the lost his life after defeating him. White reveals how a master disappears with her weapon. When she is defeated, since their minds are connected back to the Tiananmen room, the president highlights the deep historical relationship between Zhang and Moy with them, so he should avoid fighting Chu. If possible, they are on who will form an alliance with Chang. Since it will be impossible to conduct the Tiangong trial solo, the president warns everyone to be careful now because the rich lady probably has a powerful ally. A strange masked guy is hiding in the trees listening to their meetings and has a smile on the face after Chang Echo is all settled. They go to his residence and the boy is impressed by the structure. She tells him to stop, speechless, and at the entrance, these maids queue up and welcome to their madam as she walks through the house. Chu informs Chang that he will be living on the property in the future. He is afraid to tell his parents, but Moyer assures him that the arrangements have already been made. They enter the next room and he is shocked to see his mother, and she wasted no time getting comfortable as she drinks a cup of tea and some snacks. Cabbage was worried about her family's safety, so she invited her mother to stay with them for a few days. Chang is a little embarrassed to eat in a place that is not their home. The girl from the trust fund gives them permission to move in with her. She begs to borrow Chang to discuss something cute, reveals that some enemies might want to hurt her family members. She also invited her father, but he was busy. Chang apologizes for causing her trouble, but she doesn't see it as a problem and wants to move on to the main topic. She wants to give Chang the chance to obtain a Tian-level weapon, as he currently only has one weapon making. Their Chan's success increases greatly if they can obtain a weapon of that caliber. Chang is a bit shy because he is a broke boy, and therefore he cannot afford the 100,000 summoning fee. CHU is willing to foot the bill because she considers it an investment. He follows her instructions to summon the Changduan arsenal. She gives him the Lance White Fan Mox when he realizes she is a D-level weapon. She is offended by his teasing, which causes some tension. Chang demands that he not fight at first sight because they are teammates. Fan hopes that Chung is like his old master Fangshan. The boy says he is, but he knows very well that he is not at the level of the
strongest general during the Three Kingdoms period. Fan promises to serve him well. The servant comes to let them know that the food is ready. It was Chang's mother who prepared the meal, and everything is excellent as they promote the food. After dinner, Chang comes across guns, and it is revealed that Fan has a certain story with her. She and a lady become so naughty that the boy has to restrain her. Later, Cho takes a bath in the public hot springs, thinking about Tang and why he helped her. Her thoughts are disturbed when Chang White also taking a bath. She panics and dives under the water. Unfortunately, for her, the guy ends up sitting on her head as he comments on the comfort of the seat. He only gets up when he remembers that they didn't take a shower before entering. This gives Cho the chance to leave without being spotted. She comes back to listen to their conversation. About him, the reason why he decided to help her is because he realized that she was a good girl overall, as evidenced by her actions to protect her parents and the fact that she invited him to stay. He admits that he would never admit all of this to her face, but he doesn't know that she's already heard everything. Chang's mother finally comes home when things calm down. Her son wants her to stay a little longer, but she shows him the family store that she has to take care of. Cho asks her to call if she needs help. She makes it clear to Chang that she is doing this in the hope of being able to eat more of her food, since her mother is gone. They can begin their preparation. Fan must learn fighting techniques with the husband and wife. Meanwhile, Chang will also undergo strict training to upgrade him, it is said, and practices martial arts. Meanwhile, White takes some tests. By the RAR weapons wizard, he didn't know he could also be summoned. Her can repair damaged weapons. The assistant is aware that White knows his physical situation and what will happen if he continues to fight. Although he is a sacred weapon, White does not feel like he has others' choice. Chang later takes CHU to a sinology bookstore that he wishes to visit. He rushes in front of them. The rich girl tells him that he is like a child. Hearing this reminds Moyer of their son, Chi. The girl apologizes for having approached the subject. Moyer is sad not to have found him in their previous life, and they don't think they will see him in this one. Moyer tries to remove him from his mind by suggesting that they find Chang. Their child appears behind X, asking them if they are going to abandon him in this life. Like the previous one, the couple turns around confused at first, but looking closer, it seems familiar to them. They realize that the kid is a reincarnation of their son. Chi Moyer is prevented by his husband to get closer because he feels a strange vibe. Chi summons his weapon, Tai Shou, ready to fight his parents. Meanwhile, Chang finds the bookstore, but it is closed, so he plans to return home to continue his training. White feels a strong spiritual power in the area. He receives a call informing of the situation. Chu erects a protective barrier, and the child orders Tao to eliminate his parents for abandoning him. Zhang steps forward to face his son, while his wife reminds him that it is their offspring. As he clashes with Tahoe, he realizes that he is a sacred weapon. White has already informed Chang of this fact, prompting them to rush to the scene. Meanwhile, Zhang is overwhelmed, and Moy decides to intervene to help. She informs Chu of the legendary rank of her opponent. The girl in the background, Truster, orders her weapons to use their skills. But it does not work on Tao, to their great surprise. He warns them that this is useless against a higher-level weapon from their reaction. Taisho guesses that this combination was their last resort. He is disappointed, but chooses to show them an example of what a final attack should look like. It leaves a giant crack on the ground, and so does Chi. Due to it, that she almost hit him too. He tells his gun to be quicker with his elimination because he wants to go home and watch. A Neorial Tao launches an assault on Chu, but Chang pushes her aside before she hits him. The sacred weapon is frustrated and launches another attack, but White gets in hold and blocks it. Taisho recognizes the bland, and he sees him even calling his face disgusting and boring. It looks like someone is salty, and he is not as beautiful. Chang initiates White to try to obtain information about himself from their opponent. Tao is perplexed by the idea that he is in this world. He also does not have all his power, but he is always ready to fight. Chi dances with enthusiasm to eliminate them all. A voice suddenly reasons in the child's head, telling him that his power is far beyond what he displays. This interference makes his head hurt. Taisho is forced to retreat. Moyer shouts for his son to come back, but is told that they have not been there for him, so they have no right to make such a request. Chang is happy that the battle is over. He returns to the mansion where the couple tells their old life story. As a history fan, Chang is delighted to hear it from the horse's mouth. Spring and autumn, her father was known as the first swordsmith. One day she and he came across a seriously injured Zhang. His father saw his talent and taught him how to forge so that he would inherit this know-how over time. At the time, Moy and Zhang fell in love and got married. His father was a hermit, living on a mother hill. One day, the king of Chu ordered him to make 3 blades for him. So the old man and his apprentice went to king and made the swords. Lon Yuan was one of his blades. When they returned, they saved the king of Yu, who was dying. Due to a siege, the master blacksmith volunteered to forge swords so they could fight back. They found a mountain, set up camp, and made blades without worry. During this period of 3 years, one of the blades they forged was in Lu, which was considered the best sword in the universe. We learn that the president of the Tianjin Hall is Enlu. Let's return to the story. A war broke out, and the couple separated from Moyer's father. They kept the promise of the master blacksmith and finished the 5 swords for the king of Yu, after which they returned to their native village. However, their happiness did not last not long, because the king of Chu gave them a flame and iced iron to forge. In 3 months, Zhang refused since its minerals were sacred, so it could not have melted easily. The king burned their village, forcing Yang to accept. After 2 years of death, he discovered that the addition of his blood and that of Moyer to the ores allowed them to make a male and female sword. At that time Moy was pregnant, and Yang knew that the king would exterminate her once the work completed, so he only presented the female blade to the monarch. Yang was killed, as planned. The king later learned of the male sword and tracked down Moyer, who had just given birth. She sacrificed herself to protect their son. Qi was saved and raised by an old man. The boy wanted revenge after hearing the story from his parents. The old man convinced the boy to kill himself so he could get revenge. The old man brought the head to the monarch and threw her in a pot. He jumped and bit the king, creating an opening for the old man to take the monarch's head. The guards came to find the old man's head in the pot, with the other two Chung guesses that during the reincarnation process, Qi's soul has mixed with the others, making his mind unstable. The child who has Cho's eyes is also a problem. White is convinced that he can defeat his fellow weapon. Sacred Cho feels like he should avoid him until he figures things out. Chung volunteers to do some reading to find a solution. He falls asleep while studying when he gets a call from his father, telling him to come home. Meanwhile, the masked man turns out to be Mr. Ye, and he is one of those supervising the Tonggang trial. He asks Chang, but the rich girl informs him that the boy is not there. The supervisor declares that he has information about Qi. During this interval, Chun keeps the weapons in his room while he faces his father. The head of the family has done his research on CHU and accuses Chun of having scammed the girl with his false hnology. The boy denies it and corrects once again his father, telling him that his practice is not wrong. The loud argument can be heard from the guns, as the father forbids his son from seeing the trust fund. Girl Chang leaves the house frustrated because he is tired of being talked to as if he was still a child, when he is now a student back at the mansion. Cho is surprised to see Mr. Y because they are not allowed to interfere with the spiritual warriors. He does not have no intention of doing so, unless there is danger to the lives of ordinary people. The supervisor reveals that Qi will perform such an act in the business district that afternoon. Sir Yi has the impression that Qi is a good boy who is being used to do bad things by President Zhenlu. It seems that this information is good because the boy captured some people. The proctor reveals that Zhenlu was summoned in a dark ceremony. It is at this moment when a person is sacrificed during the summoning ritual. This makes the RM lack mercy, but in exchange it has a much stronger power. Zlu is extremely unreasonable and does not hesitate to eliminate people to collect spiritual weapons. He invited Mr. Information on Zhenlu's skills. Things move on to Qi, taking a selfie after lighting a ring of fire around his captive. He sends it to Chu, who has just been informed of the president's skills. She is shocked, by the way.
He is excited, but the boy's message catches his attention. Moyer sees the photo on his master's phone and rushes to his son Jiang Su. Also his wife, the rich girl, calls Chang to tell him to come back and watch the house. He notices that something is wrong, but she doesn't tell him about the situation and just gives him 10 minutes to come back. Cho ends his meeting with Mr. Y and joins his gun to investigate the area in the photo, but he doesn't find any clues. Investigation is interrupted when a protective barrier is erected around them. She tries to call Chang to inform him of the trap, but her phone is broken with a knife thrown from there. She is with Qi and lets the girl know Rich that the president ordered her to come back with them. One wants the boy not to interfere. Qi makes it clear that he is not under the president's control, but decides to stand back and watch. He tells his mother to shut up when she calls him one wastes no time and attacks, but Jiang saves her from harm. Chu is shocked that a human has so many powers. Jiang is baffled by his power level. One alludes to the torture she went through to reach her current energy level. The husband and wife try to hold her back, but their skills don't work on her, and she overwhelms them and forbids them from getting up to fight again because she can't stand to see her weapons getting damaged. Meanwhile, Chang and White rush to the mansion when the sacred weapon reveals that Jiang and Moyer's skills may not be effective against someone who has reached the facility harmony. This is the ultra-combat mode of the spiritual warrior, or a weapon, and the heart of her master unite in harmony during this moment. The subconscious of Chuin informs that tears will not help the situation. The girl does not know what to do since one is in the state of harmony installation, The specter reprimands her for her weakness, pushing her to run towards her weapons. She further expresses her reluctance to lose them. They also consider her as their own child. Since they have seen this emotional moment grow, increases their synergy, allowing Chu to enter the harmony installation. She appears out of the smoke holding both blades with a change of outfit. She is full of power and confidence as she lets it be known, one, that she is going to pay for her actions. One is a little salty, and she managed to reach the same level as her. While the two rush towards each other, one blocks her heavy strikes but barely manages to dodge. Cho keeps up the pressure with another attack that sends her opponent crashing into a building. The rich girl can see that her swordplay and magic power are of a higher level than that of a. She refuses to believe him as she tries to get up. Her attacks are easily dodged, and Chu ends the battle with a combination of slices from Sisami, who balled her weapon, advises them to retreat since the power of the trust fund girl is currently greater. The insult to take revenge by escaping Chi is not impressed by the end of the vaunt, and leaves the young rich girl collapses to the ground and exhausted as soon as the place is cleared of his enemies. During this interval, Aoshin and Nalan lead a unit to attack Cho's mansion under the order of President White alerts everyone of the approaching intruders. The force includes 10D-level warriors and 2 Tianchang-level warriors. Formula a plan that will start with Fan confronting them. She is there to meet the intruders as he rushes towards the front door. Aoshin orders Long Yuan to defeat her. The guy thinks how cute she is during their first Fan confrontation, trains the 2 Tian-level fighters, leaving the fodder to manage the occupation of the house, which he assumes is empty. They run to claim their prize, but the door opens to White and the rest of Chu's weapons coming out. He begins to eliminate attacking them, and White destroys them, under Chang's protest. The holy weapon reminds him that gentleness should not be practiced during the Tiangang trial. The other weapon agrees and advises Chang not to hesitate to kill the enemies during the fight. Meanwhile, El Yuan has caught up to Fan and engages him again while trying to look cool. Nalan also joins the fight as Yul Assassin tries to stab Fan in the back. However, White arrives to time blocks the attack and begins to fight. El Yan Chang tries to engage Tian directly, which forces Lu to come out of hiding to defend him. White is then ordered to attack the assassin, but Liuan blocks him by erecting a wall. Aoshin reveals that his weapon's abilities change depending on the weather. Small turns of concentration leave Chang open to Yu Fan's strike, remembers the disappearance of his former master, and uses himself as a shield to protect his current boss. Chang holds his weapon, shouting at him not to meet his demise while White fends off.
Liuan's attacks. He looks at the crying human and blames himself. The holy weapon considers him useless because he is supposed to focus on the current threat of high level. White is knocked down due to fatigue, but Zhang and Moy fall just before he is finished. The couple pushes Long Yan away as you go to check F. She assures Chang that her weapon will survive, but pushes her to take the form of a miniature weapon. For the moment, the trash boy is so relieved to be able to live Aoshin. And Nalan don't understand how Cho got home. And with so much spiritual power, she reveals that Chang is not as useless as we all thought. The guy asked her for more swords to find her. They restored her power, allowing her to go back in time. She turns to Chang and gives him a pep talk about not getting back up after failure and the true defeated. So he should get up and help fight their battle against the dirty Tianzin. The boy recovers emotionally. With renewed confidence, the couple hits Long Yan again with their skill. White's fatigue is transferred to him again. He can't believe how the sacred weapon fights when he is in so much pain. During this time, Aotian is annoyed that he has recovered. He has no intention of retreating. This time the weather is perfect because it is a busy night of stars. Elyan draws his power from the constellations, which allows him to easily repel several opponents. By the time everyone discovers his new source of energy, he has already gathered enough to unleash a devastating attack. White tries to block him, but he needs more spiritual power. Chang cuts himself with a mini-fan and uses its residue as a means to increase White's power. This allows him to nullify it much. To everyone's shock, he takes this energy and sends it back to Long Yan, eliminating him, Aotian, and Nalan quickly retreat. Chu sprints to check on Chang, who has collapsed because he gave too much energy. Meanwhile, White catches up with their attackers and stabs Nan as they take stock of the situation. This ends the episode. If you like our content, please subscribe for more.